WTAD.
Welcome back to the morning meeting on Talkradio 930 WTAD. A Monday morning after that long holiday weekend. Hope you enjoyed it. And another short week as New Year's Eve coming up. Well, New Year's Day coming up, but it's on a Saturday once again, so a lot of people get Friday off. But we continue with lots of stuff to do this week as we wrap up 2010. And the RNC chairman race is heating up and to be decided here in just a few weeks, actually. And one of the candidates for that is Ann Wagner. And she joins us this morning on the phone. Ann, good morning.
Good morning, Bryan. Good to be with you and your listeners.
Thank you for taking the time this morning. Now, you are from Missouri, which is of particular interest, I think, to our listeners because you've done a lot of things politically in that state. And so I want to give folks an idea of who you are and, should you become the RNC chairman, what you would like to see done. So first off, for folks that aren't familiar with you, give us kind of a short bio.
Well, been involved in Republican politics and conservative causes probably all my life, but certainly very active for the last 2 decades. Worked in staff positions, went on to be a grassroots township committee woman for 9 years here, doing the neighbor-to-neighbor outreach and vote turnout for a number of years. Went on to chair the Missouri Republican Party for 3 cycles, from 98 through 2005. We had some great victories during that time, winning a governor's race, U.S. Senate, picking up 3 congressional seats, and the Missouri House and Senate. And then you get to actually do something, Bryan, actually pass good conservative legislation. So a great tenure there, served as co-chairman of the Republican National Committee through 2004, and then went on to travel during that time to 48 of the 50 states, raising money, doing the grassroots work and the victory programs with the state parties out there. Went on to serve as United States Ambassador to Luxembourg in Europe, returned home in 2009, and went right to work to elect Roy Blunt, the next United States Senator here from Missouri. And now I have indeed thrown my hat in the ring to, I hope, serve as the next chairman of the Republican National Committee.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Roy Blunt. That was a big election, one in which he won and is now, or will be soon, the senator from Missouri, so that was an excellent race. And then you talked about the victory centers as well. A victory center is something which now, right here in Quincy, we're familiar with after the 2010 election cycle because of, they finally put one in Quincy, and it was successful. We ended up with a Republican in our congressional district for the first time in many, many years. So I just wanted to touch on that just briefly. But tell me what things that you would like to accomplish as RNC chair should you be selected as such?
Well, we've got to take this mandate that I think came from this last election in 2010, which was really so many real grassroots activists, whether they were part of the Republican Party existing coalitions or whether they were new groups and coalitions out there that were spurred by the Tea Party movement, the Patriot groups, all of these really authentic conservative grassroots groups out there across the country that helped restore a Republican majority, at least in the House, and picked up lots of seats in state legislatures throughout the country. I want to see that continue. We need to elect a Republican president in 2012, and that is my number one overriding goal at this point in time. And thus we need a Republican National Committee that is healthy, that is fully funded, and is fully functional, and we don't have that at this present time. The Republican National Committee has let a majority of its major donor programs fall apart, and there are probably close to $350 to $400 million that need to be raised in order to make the party healthy for our presidential nominee in the 2012 cycle, and then also to support and fund the kind of victory offices that you had there in Quincy and that were all over the country, to turn out the vote, to activate the grassroots, and to do our turnout programs, whether it's early voting, whether it's door-to-door, phone work, whatever we have to do to turn out the voters on Election Day.
What's the key to improving those donor programs? Because, I mean, a lot of regular folks that maybe don't get involved in politics or don't really care about the ins and outs of it, those are the folks that always want to shy away from the money issues. But as we've seen in the past, it takes money to get folks elected, like it or not. That's how it works, and certainly that's how it worked in the 2010 election cycle. So how do you get revitalize those donor programs?
Well, I want to reinstall a field staff out there at the Republican National Committee that is made up of a finance team that will actually work regionally with the state parties and with the RNC to reach out to major donors out there. Major donor groups are those that would raise anywhere from $25,000, $15,000, maybe $5,000. There's even a $1,000 group. That is a lower cost way of raising money, Bryan, than say telemarketing or direct mail. And those kinds of programs have got to be reinstilled. Have to put together a business prospectus to present to these major donors and sit them down and say, look, this is our plan and pathway to victory. This is what we're going to do. This is why your investment is so crucial. And then you have to say you're going to use it wisely and be a good steward of that money and investment. And frankly, the Republican National Committee needs to be managed in a much more, I think, with a higher integrity, with more checks and balances. Vendor contracts have to be overhauled. Expenses and overhead must be kept low. And there needs to be more accountability and transparency in all the finances at the Republican National Committee. So, you have to go out to these donors, instill a certain level of confidence and credibility, put your plan forward, make the ask, and then keep them in the loop and ultimately deliver on your results. So that really needs to be done along with and in conjunction with a good ethical management program at the RNC. On top of that, I think my 20 years of political experience in winning elections will also enhance the programs and the victory efforts that we're going to put out there in the states. And you've got to have some communication skills. We're going to have a great crop, I hope, of Republican nominees out there running for president, new leadership in the Congress, and some great governors out there that we need to be showcasing. But to the extent you have to put a chairman, toe-to-toe against the DNC chair, Governor Kane, or whomever it might be, you have to have someone that can articulate your conservative message, keep our Congress true to its conservative views and what the people are wanting, and remind them of that message and that platform on a continual basis.
We have seen in the last couple of years during the tenure of Michael Steele, a couple of things that you've talked about in regards to finances and getting out of control and spending money on things that we don't, as Republicans or as a Republican National Committee, don't need to be spending donor money on. But, we've also seen some things where he's maybe said this or that didn't really go over real well with the folks. And so, in regards to that, I mean, your view on the last 2 years, I know he's running, and I don't know how much you want to say about it, but your view on the last 2 years.
You're right, Bryan. There have been a number of gaffes out there, and I think it comes when you have a chairman who is putting themselves out there and not putting their candidates and their causes front and center. The chairmanship of the Republican National Committee can never be about the chairman. And when it becomes about the chairman, you're losing your message and you're losing your best asset, which are your candidates out there and your state parties and the grassroots organizations and some of the key issues that we need to be putting forward and making sure that our legislators are staying true to those wishes and values and good governance ideals. So yes, we have to make sure that we have a chairman who you can never quite be gaffe-proof, I suppose, but who at least is less intensified in that regard. And I'm hoping that I could serve as a spokesperson I have for over 20 years in a way that lends credibility and lifts up our candidates and our platform and our causes out there.
Talking with Ann Wagner, who is running for the chairmanship of the Republican National Committee in a crowd of several folks, but one of the front runners certainly, I think, in the race, and she's from Missouri, if you're just joining us this morning. You mentioned the grassroots several times, and the grassroots played a huge role in 2010. And when I say grassroots, a lot of folks immediately think Tea Party, and as well they as well they should. So how do you work with the Tea Party or in conjunction with how is that going to shake out? Because there's been this constant, I don't want to say battle that there's actually been a battle, but there's been this battle played out in the media that the Tea Party and the Republicans are beating their heads against each other and not working together. So how do you do that, or was that something that you would look to do?
Oh, absolutely. I really think we need to work together on as many things as we can work together on. People that are affiliated with the Tea Party or Patriot Party, whatever it might be called, movement out there, are not necessarily Republicans, but they're good conservative people that care deeply about their government, about the Constitution, about the Republic, and I'd say on a majority of things we see eye to eye. And what we need to do is they need to have a seat at the table. We have to have a dialogue. We have to engage them and listen to what they have to say. This isn't about co-opting. This isn't trying to make them Republicans. It's about including them in our wishes in terms of elections going forward. So my hope would be that I can engage them across the country and let them know that they are welcome to sit down and talk about whatever it is on their minds. And we can agree, we can disagree, but the key here is communication and inclusion to the extent that we can. It's very, very important. And any Republican that doesn't realize the true, authentic, grassroots nature and independence of this movement has got it all wrong. And we engaged them here in Missouri for Roy Blunt's campaign. I know across the country there were so many that elected good congressmen and women out there. I want to continue in that vein and make sure that we're dialoguing as much as possible.
I think the 2010 election cycle was very telling as far as the RNC was concerned, and I don't know if this is something that will continue, but I want to get your take on it as far as how conservative the party wants to be. I mean, we heard a lot of people call for more conservative candidates, I being one of those people suggesting that would be the way to go. But then we saw some races, particularly, for instance, up in New York, with Didi Scozzafava and the RNC, or not necessarily the RNC, but branches of it getting behind particular candidates who maybe weren't as conservative. Your thoughts on that? Is that something the RNC is going to back away from, getting behind candidates like they did then, or not?
Well, what I think is so tremendous is I said this to a group just the other day. It's cool to be conservative again, and that's so marvelous for me because I am a true conservative on all the pillars of conservatism, from economic and fiscal issues to national defense to traditional family issues. And to see those come to the forefront, to hear real people out there talking about their conservative values and what a center-right country we are and pushing in that direction, I think it's exciting, and I think it will bode well ultimately not just for elections but for the legislation that we're going to be passing. Now, in terms of the RNC, the Republican National Committee, should support its nominees out there, but they should not be meddling in primaries. And I think it's important that we do what we can to lift up and empower conservative candidates out there. But at the end of the day, the people are going to choose, and they're going to decide. And then we will support our nominees that are viable and that we believe can win elections. It's a big country, and it varies tremendously, but the people generally, I think, ultimately and completely should be the arbiters and should decide who the nominees in the party will be going forward.
Well, Ann Wagner, thanks for your time this morning. Best of luck to you on January 14th, and you could well be the next RNC chairperson. So thanks, Ann. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bryan. Good to be with you, and Happy New Year to all your great listeners.
Morning Meeting on Talk Radio 930 WTAD.